Adam Chris from MMAnews.com, being joined by Liza Soler. And it's not often the media puts their money where their mouth is. And fellow media member, podcaster, and MMA enthusiast Liza Soler, she's doing just that as she enters the cage on January 29th for a WMMA heavyweight bout at XFN 40, live and exclusively on Flow Combat. You can check it out, obviously, on Flow Combat. Get yourself a subscription. But before the bout against Lisa's son, I got my girl Liza Soler here to talk about the contest, what it's going to be like entering the cage as a WMMA female for the first time, being a mother and training on top of that, and so much more. First and foremost, I got to thank my guest, Liza. How's it going? And I appreciate you joining me.
I am doing great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. So as I understand, you just got back from training. We're in fight mode. You got a little bit over a month away, but tell me about fight camp. How's it going?
You know what? It's hard. I have the best coaches that are keeping me focused. It's been a little minute since I have gone full fight camp mode, but I do keep, training just for my health purposes, consistently as much as I can fit in. But now we are literally about 5 days a week. I do incorporate 2 rest days, but I have strength and conditioning, and then I have my striking coach. So we're putting in work for sure.
So obviously, it's always a pleasure to talk to a fellow media member. As I said, talked you up in the intro. You have your own podcast going on, but it's not very often that the media gets to talk to the media about taking a fight. So the two worlds colliding, it's something different and it's something admirable. You're actually getting in there. You're stepping in there to see what these guys that we covered, these guys and girls, what they do on the regular. So kudos to you first and foremost. But secondly, what made you want to do this?
You know what? Michael Maldonado, who is the matchmaker for XFN, he reached out to me maybe a year and a half ago about, wanting to put me on a future card. And I'm a heavier weight class. So I always said, well, I've never seen that there's anybody that would be in my weight class. So I really didn't focus on, being a fighter for all the years that I've been training, because I never thought it would be anything that I could accomplish, really, because there's not that weight division. If you don't know, this is the first Muay Thai match in the women's heavyweight division for XFN, and this is their 40th show. And, it's a big deal. So when he approached me about it a couple months ago, he said, hey, there's another woman that she's kind of been in the same boat as you, has been training for all these years, but never had the opportunity to display her, her skills in the cage, because there's never been a platform for her to also perform. So she actually saw you at one of the XFN fights, because I also do the post-fight interviews there sometimes with the Lisa with Z podcast. And she saw me there and she asked Maldonado about me. And she was like, hey, what weight class does she fight at? And again, there's never been a heavyweight, weight class. So, some talking back and forth between, both fighters and, what we could agree on for the match. I said, I'll take on the fight if this is, something that she wants to accomplish as well as a woman and also as a mixed martial artist. Lisa with a Z podcast is all about women empowerment and combat sports and any sport in general. I like to promote women and, just getting us out there to compete. And, even though we may not be, your average straw weight, flyweight, bantamweight, I can get in there as well and perform and really prove to people that, we matter too. So me and Lisa are definitely going to bring our best, our A game at this fight. And, I know that there's a bigger purpose, because now I think Maldonado told me that after our fight was announced, other coaches and other women in our weight division have been reaching out to now possibly come on future shows for the XFN promotion. So I've already accomplished a goal that I set, to set a standard, to open up people's eyes, and that's working. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Absolutely.
So not only taking the fight, but you're also setting up to be kind of a trailblazer in some sorts for this fight. So how does that feel on top of the stress of a fight camp?
It's a lot of anxiety for sure. It's a lot of pressure. You got a lot of eyes on you. Not only do I represent myself, I represent my teams, all the coaches that have ever trained me, you know, young women, little girls, women that I know in the gym that have, you know, that are literally coming up to me now the last couple of weeks, like, hey, you know, I'm so inspired by you. And like, hey, now, you know, I want to start getting into, you know, maybe training into more fighter sense than just the average, you know, putting your work in the gym. So I've had a lot of people personally write me and tell me how much that this has inspired them to take on their own goals. So, you know, that means a lot to me. And I also represent many, you know, brands and my sponsors. So I'm not only representing myself, I'm representing so many people that believe in me. So it is important for sure.
You know what I find interesting and I actually respect the heck out of is the fact that not only did she approach you about taking the fight, and again, with your podcast, your platform, you're about women empowerment, but you, as you know as well as I do, this is a very ego driven sport. Obviously, you leave your ego at the door when you're training, but when somebody calls somebody else out, just as well as you and I know, that's not taken too kindly. And whereas you're taking it as, look, I'm trying to advance both of our careers as such and accomplish both of our goals, and it seems like no ill will involved in the process. So kudos to you. Can you talk about that?
Well, at first,
Of course.
I will admit that when the way that Maldonado came to me about it was through a screenshot. So I only saw a little bit of the conversation, and it kind of was like she was kind of calling me out. So I was like, hold on.
So you only got a little bit of the
Hold on.
context at first, but
Right. We don't call out Liza Soler because I don't turn down no fights. Okay. That's just not who I am. And anything I do, I work for it. So, you know, if she's asking about me, that means she's willing to know about me at this point, past the media stuff. So, you know, this is something that I've had close to my heart for such a long time, to compete on this type of level. And, you know, if somebody thinks that they could come up to me and ask, you know, about my skill, best believe I'm going to put in 100% into everything I am as a fighter now. And so, you know, at first, of course, everybody, we're in the fight game, and I have all my, you know, good fighter friends, and like, you know, I have people that are champions that are, you know, even some of my boys from John Way, they're now belt holders in the XFN division. You know, some big shoes to kind of try to step into, but you know, I'm surrounded by a lot of good people. I like to keep myself humble as well, because this sport is very humbling at the end of the day. You know, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. I don't want to lose myself to building an ego. You know, I am confident in myself, and I believe in my training and the skill that I have, you know, been working on for so many years. And, you know, I'm going to continue developing, of course, throughout my career as a fighter. But, you know, I'm very confident about myself and what I'm going to bring into the ring. And right now we have a strategy that we're working on. And of course, I'm not going to give away those secrets, but you know, I'm going to bring in my best. I know she's going to put in her best as well. I know Hard Knocks is a really good gym. I've interviewed many of their fighters as well. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's all about respect in the sport. And I respect her as a martial artist. And I know that she also respects me. And so, you know, may the best Lisa win.
of course. And I know you've been at it for a while, but where do you train out of, and how long have you been training, period?
So I started training just for health purposes back in 2018. My gym that I started with was John Way Martial Arts in Plantation. And throughout my years, I did move away for some time to Tampa. I ended up doing boxing for about 2 years with my coach, Eddie Santiago, over there in Tampa. And now I ended up moving back after the pandemic to be closer to family. And, you know, after we had such a separate long time over there in Tampa, and Lisa with a Z started picking up down here. I'm now a student as well in Miami. So now I also train at Round 5 MMA sometimes while I'm in Miami, and I work with Caesar over there. And honestly, I've had a lot of the coaches here in South Florida reach out to me, hey, come by, get some work in, you know, and I feel very grateful and honored that I have the best of the best of South Florida coaches willing to be able to give me their knowledge, and I don't even know. Sometimes I'm like a little girl, like, oh my God, Kevin Gleason wants me to come through. Like, what? Like it's like, and even, Bushido Muay Thai, there's such a great Muay Thai gym that I love them, and I'm inspired by their fighters as well. And many gyms out here, have reached out to me to, like, just encourage me. And so many of the female fighters within the XFN network have personally wrote me, like, how they're so excited to embrace this weight class. So, it's a big deal. I'm very happy to have accepted this fight. Some people may not be on, team heavyweight, but it's going to mean something at the end of the day. Who knows? Some little girl, maybe 10 years from now, I will be the veteran, and, I started this weight class, and I would love to see this continue.
So this definitely is not a one-off. You want to continue to pursue your fighting dreams and aspirations after this.
I don't know what doors may open. Who knows what other promotions may want to start bringing in a heavyweight class. Or, I may want to continue in boxing as well, because I do love boxing. Or I may take it to the ground one day. Who knows? But right now, I'm focused on this fight. Whatever happens after this, I'm willing to embrace what the universe is going to bring me, and go from there.
And again, you've covered XFN for a bit now, a great organization down there. What drew you to covering combat sports? Again, because you're playing both avenues here. You're playing the fighter and also the combat sports media. What draws you to combat sports?
Oh, you know what? I love the energy. I love living the fighter life, and I see what they go through day in, day out, moments before the cage and in the cage and out of the cage. And I like the experience. I love the overall emotions that you go through. I love the challenge that you go through as a fighter. And why not? 50 years from now, or, when I'm with my grandkids, I'm like, hey, your grandma was a badass back in the day. I want to be able to live and say those stories. Yeah. And so this is all a part of my history, covering the combat sports. When I started the podcast, I never really thought it would take off that way, and going into now post-fight interviews, and it's developed along the way. And I've met so many great people, and people don't let me give up on this dream and on this goal. And they encourage me to keep pushing and improve. And now, I'm going to media school for radio and TV broadcasting. So it's opened up so many different avenues for me. And it all started because I fell in love with mixed martial arts. And now, I want to be able to expand into other sports, of course, with time. But right now, combat sports is where we're at.
Of course. So let's get into the nitty gritty juicy of it all. So your opponent, Liza Soler, what do you know about her from your perspective?
She's secretive. I have had many people who, of course, my friends and everybody want to know about her and how her training is. I've heard here and there that she's very technical, which is great, but I don't really know anything about her personally. We did have some words when we faced off in the cage at one of the XFNs, and we shared a couple words, and she's really sweet, really great. I see her all the time. We're all at fight events all the time, so we do run into each other, but it's nothing but respect. Right now we just give each other our space, because I want to be in my own mind. I'm not really trying to focus on what her level is. I'm focused on mine. So, that's where I'm at with that.
Understandable.
I would be more than glad to, speak with her after the fight, and maybe have a sit down and maybe do an interview with her one-on-one. I've done that before for my boxing match, actually. I interviewed my opponent after, and now she reached out to me. She's like, hey, I'm going to be watching your fight. So, at the end of the day, we're all ladies in this sport trying to make a difference. And that's the main thing that's important to me.
So the little bit of footage that I have seen of Lisa, I know she's been training with Glory kickboxing veteran Keeman Diop, great technical striker, as you said. As you're probably anticipating Lisa to be a technical striker as well. And I know obviously you have your names in the gym. Obviously, you mentioned a couple earlier, but having such technical striking and personal partners that she's training with, is that any cause of concern?
No,
Plain and simple.
I am I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I drive from, I don't care where I have to go, what gym, what coaches, what I have to do to change my diet. I am a fighter at the end of the day. And I mean, honestly, I'm not underestimating her at all. If not, I keep pushing my mindset to think that she is better than me. So that way I know I have to give 110 more than her. So that's where my mindset is. At the end of the day, I'm the best for me.
What do you
That's
bring to
correct.
the table that you think she's not going to be prepared for?
I have confidence. I have 100% confidence in myself. I have a great team behind me. I don't know. We're both different fighters. You know, I haven't seen any tape on her, and she's very good at that. And that, like I said, some of my best friends are like, they're like FBI. They'll find out anything about you, and they're like, Lisa, I've tried. I'm like, that's okay. All I gotta worry about is me at the end of the day. So,
And your confidence at this juncture seems unbreakable, which makes me question. You said you've had multiple run ins with her. Have you seen anything in her that makes you question her confidence?
I mean, I think she's a little shy when now she sees me. Um, Even the day we met, it was a little bit of kind of like, I don't know, she's a little bit shy. Me, I've learned to now embrace the fight life and the environment, and I'm here to own the night no matter what. And it's something probably that she'll have to build up at, because mind you, she's debuting too. I don't know about if she's done any smokers or anything, but the smokers have given me that little bit of confidence, like, okay, you've done this before, it's just at a bigger level. You just got to keep yourself well paced, and take it as a professional. Even though we're amateurs, I'm treating this like I'm a professional at the end of the day. I'm doing the same thing that professionals do. I'm cutting weight, I'm putting in work, I'm fighting. They're just getting paid for it.
I mean, that's really the look that you have to have, because honestly, I mean, when you're going and you're training for a fight, any amateur will tell you this. If you're not training like a professional, your opponent's going to be training like a professional. You're doing a disservice to yourself by training like an amateur. So kudos to
Right,
you for knowing exactly what you have to do. Again, you've been around the sport for years, so you know what you have to do. But my
right.
question is, without you giving away your game plan, I know you're not going to, but from your personal perspective, how do you think the fight's going to go?
I want to say that we'll probably, maybe fill each other out first round, um, and then definitely bring it second round. I'm not trying to go past the second round.
Any bold prediction for me?
Mm, I definitely want to win with a TKO victory. That's it.
First or second round, you'll take it.
That's the plan.
I
I want
love
to
it.
be able to showcase my skills. It's always great to have a knockout. I've seen plenty. I've
Hmm.
seen plenty. I mean, literally, we saw Daniel knock out somebody in 9 seconds the other day.
Hmm.
It was beautiful, but I didn't work this hard to not showcase my skills. So, but if she's coming at me hard, I'm gonna pick it up too.
I
That's
love
about
it.
it. You know.
All right. Well, final question for you before I let you go. Obviously, I know you got your sponsors. I know you got your podcast. I know you got your platforms. We got to get you to shout it out. Let the fans know how to keep in touch with my girl Liza Soler.
All right. So you guys can subscribe to the YouTube channel to check out plenty of post-fight and amazing interviews of some of the top athletes here in Florida. Lisa with a Z podcast on YouTube. My Instagram is official_Liza Soler. The podcast Instagram is Lisa with a Z podcast. You can also check out the D Squad podcast. It's a little bit more adult like type of podcast. We stay away from the combat sports. It's a little bit of a different avenue. I also am the producer of I Transcend podcast on Anchor. It's a cannabis education podcast. So led by Anthony Reyes, who is the owner of I Transcend Foods FLA. You can follow him on Instagram, and Liza Soler on Facebook. You know, keep up with me. We got a long way to go for this fight camp. Check out XFN Fights, January 29th on Flow Combat. We are bringing a powerhouse fight with the best heavyweights, women's, at the XFN fight. Honestly, I think we should be the main event in the amateurs.
If you don't say so yourself, right?
You know, but
Lisa,
no,
it was
thank you so much for you. Yeah,
it was my pleasure. Honestly, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I will be tuning in. I can't wait to see you two throw down. It's going to be awesome. From a media member to another fellow media member, again, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing you in action.
Thank you. I appreciate it.